Pastor Hall for that very kind introduction. Once again, it's an honor and a privilege to be here this morning with all of you. I got to tell you, it's a morning like this that makes me glad to be alive. Let's get the blood flowing. I'm here again with my wonderful wife, Regina. Got this for over 40 years. My beautiful campaign manager, Natalie Reisman. My brother Vincent, always there with me. And Herb Woods, retired commissioner from the NYPD. He stuck with me for all these years, and Herb and I worked police discipline together. And I want to preface what I'm going to say about public safety to just dwell a moment on Herb and I and the career that we spent in the PD. I spent 30 years in the police department, as it was alluded to by the good pastor. I started as a beat cop right here in Southeast Queens, walking a post on Merrick Boulevard. I went to St. John's Law School at night. I worked steady midnights in Flatbush, Brooklyn. I became a lawyer. And I rose through every rank to become number 2 first deputy police commissioner in my 30-year plus career. Amen. About 10 years of that career, about 1/3, I spent with police discipline. And that's where I got to meet Herb Woods, who's here with me today. As a matter of fact, I thought so much of Herb that when I became first deputy police commissioner, I was able to place him in charge of the entire disciplinary process, and we made him an assistant commissioner. We're very proud. And in the society of laws we have, I cannot stand here and talk about the rule of law with you with a straight face without saying how much I understand that yes, we must support our police officers, but yes, we also must make our police officers accountable to respect their oath and to support the community. Because if we don't have that partnership, we can either go one way towards anarchy or another way towards a police state. Neither way is the way of the Lord. Neither way is the way that we need in the United States. So what Herb Woods did and I, he was a detective in those years, we would work every case very carefully. And it's not easy being a New York City police officer. You can get hit from every which way. And sometimes you have people who make some very, let's say, self-serving allegations. And they must be dealt with. And if we believe, objectively, looking at the facts in the law, Herb and I, if we thought that police officer was right, even if it might be controversial, we would support that police officer. But on the other hand, there are times when officers can do things that are grievously wrong. They can be physically abusive sometimes, and Herb and I unfortunately had to deal with cases where police officers were charged with stealing drugs and guns and money, horrific things. Tiny, tiny percentage, might I say. But that tiny percentage can pollute the confidence of the community and undermine the whole police department. And when we saw cases like that, we prosecuted those cases to the fullest extent we could, and those police officers lost their jobs. So, this is the mix, right? This is the mix. The platform of my belief when I talk to you about rule of law. I need for you to understand where I'm coming from. Because right now, the rule of law is slipping in New York City and Queens. It's slipping. I mentioned to you last time about these so-called smoke shops. We see them on every block. They are selling illegal cannabis products to our children. This is not legal. This is not right. But for some reason, politicians in New York City and New York State, including unfortunately some of our district attorneys, maybe even the district attorney in Queens, they won't take this on. They won't take it on. And do you know one of the reasons they don't take it on? They're afraid of being criticized in the African American community. How condescending is that? How condescending is that? When we don't prosecute these laws properly, and we let poison be sold to our children, you tell me which community suffers the most? Which community? Absolutely, the African American community, front and center. So what will I do differently? I know the police department inside out, upside down. I know how to give the officers the proper support. We have to get into these smoke shops. We have to send undercover officers in there. And when we find illegal products being sold to our children, we need to close them down. And you need a district attorney. You deserve a district attorney who will say what I said to you unabated. You know what else we're seeing in Queens right now? Over the last couple of years? It's been horribly documented in a church setting. I feel bad about talking about it, but we have to talk about the truth. Women selling themselves on the streets. On the streets. Wide swaths of Queens, on Roosevelt Avenue, in Corona, in Elmhurst. Out there blatantly doing it. We have a district attorney who basically walking in the door said, well, we're not going to really do much about that. All of the women are victims. We don't want to make it worse. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Prostitution is against the law. We can't make society safe by not enforcing the law. Now, where we have young ladies who are being abused by traffickers, who are being used, we must reach out to them with a helping hand. We must put them on a path to get to a better place in their life. But if district attorneys don't back the police department and these laws don't get enforced, guess what? The problem explodes. And even more of the women are dragged into this cauldron. That's wrong. You deserve a district attorney who will stand up and fight that. That's George Grasso. Now let's talk about what's going on with drugs and narcotics on our streets. Cocaine laced with fentanyl. Pills laced with fentanyl. Drug dealers brazenly selling these. Has anybody been to Jamaica Center lately? You see I go there all the time. I was just there last week. You've got drug dealers, they're using it as their space, as their turf. You see it. You see it. You've got police officers standing on the corner. They don't know what to do. They don't even know what their own authority is. You deserve a district attorney who will back them up and say that's wrong. That's wrong. We'll take you off the street when you're doing that. We will not let our community be undermined. Now, having said that, I am aware that many of these young men, and often sadly they are young men, and often sadly they are, especially in this community, young men of color. I know many of these young men come from a difficult place. I know many of them are succumbed, they have addictions themselves, serious substance use disorder. They have issues with homelessness. Sometimes they have issues with mental health. We have to reach out to them. And when they're doing these things illegally and they get arrested, and I have a background of doing this as a judge, we must give them every pathway to get their lives back on track. And use the leverage of the criminal justice system to do that. But let me tell you how it doesn't work. How it doesn't work is when we pass these so-called bail reform laws, and we make drug dealing an offense that's called an unqualified offense, and they can be out there and selling this poison laced with fentanyl, causing overdose deaths to exceed the thousands per year in New York, and they know they can do it 1 time, 10 times, 20 times, and keep getting arrested. No bail, no jail, no consequence. We're not hurting the community, we're hurting them. We're losing opportunities to give them an opportunity to climb up. So I'm all for the hands of opportunity. I have a background. I created a court, overdose avoidance and recovery court, the OR court, when I was the top judge in the Bronx. We did that. We did tremendous work. But when these types of bail laws are passed and the leverage of the criminal justice system is undermined, Those programs go by the wayside. They're destroyed. The service provider community can't get to them in the courtroom. And these young men are out there either until they do something absolutely horrific or they overdose themselves. That's wrong. That's wrong. We have a district attorney in Queens. She's been in office now for almost a full term. She will never come here or anywhere and talk about the issues I just spoke about directly as I did. What you'll get is you'll get a lot of glib, oh, this is good and that's good. The DA is not the borough president. The DA is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. I have the background, I have the experience. And I can do it, but let me tell you what my biggest opponent in this race. Apathy. Apathy. People complain, they gripe, but they don't get off the couch and vote. In the primary election, we had less than 8% voter turnout. I'm sure you know a lot of those people. If you like what you're hearing now, if what I'm saying is something you believe in, you must vote. You must vote. We are voting today till 5 o'clock, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday. You must vote and you must reach out to friends, relatives, and acquaintances and say, Grasso is a real choice. Grasso is for us. You support me, you be there for me, I'll be there for you. That's my prayer, that's my promise. It's a privilege to be with all of you today. Thank you.